Okay, Sifu Alfred, Kindred Fist, bringing you some of the best martial art practitioners in and around New York City. This gentleman here has been in martial arts for many, many years. I'm going to have him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about his background, and then we'll just have a really good conversation with him about Tai Chi, Karate, and Kung Fu, some of the other styles he's in. So, right away.
My name is Sifu Ralph Rodriguez. I studied martial arts since I was a child. I've studied karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu. Just to name a few. I've studied kung fu, Wing Chun, also taekwondo, Yomon Kwan, Korean style, Arnis, Sierrada, also Fu Jiao Pai, Chen style Tai Chi and Yang style Tai Chi, and Xin Yin Bakwa.
Wow.
And Chinese medicine.
So you started as a child, about how old?
About 5.
5? Okay. And what got you into, I guess your parents put you into it?
Well, my father was a merchant marine, and we were watching this television show and saw this demonstration of martial artists, and I said, I want to be one of those guys.
Okay, okay.
And he boxed. So,
what was the first style you went into?
My father taught me how to box.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that?
After that was judo, jiu-jitsu.
Okay. And then when did you change to karate? Karate came next?
Yeah, karate came next. Yeah. I started judo, jiu-jitsu, and then I got introduced to karate, which is Yomon Kwan.
Yomon Kwan.
Yeah, Korean.
Okay.
Korean style. It means house where the warriors gather.
It means what?
House where the warriors gather.
House where the warriors gather. I like that.
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah.
That style of karate. Anyway.
Yeah.
Is it still around?
Yeah, it's still around.
Yeah.
I guess some people are still teaching it.
Okay.
But it was one heck of an experience.
Okay. Okay.
Also studied Goju, Shotokan.
All right.
With a man by the name of Remy Hannibal.
Okay.
Mouth of White. They taught me Shotokan.
Oh, okay.
And I learned Goju from a guy by the name of Artie Aviles.
Japanese or Korean?
Japanese.
Okinawan, sorry, Okinawan.
Japanese.
All right.
Okinawan, I got introduced to Ming Pai.
Oh, okay.
So I got introduced to the Okinawan karate.
Yeah. And the name Ming Pai. Oh, that's good. Now, from karate, you went to?
From the karate, that's what I went to well, Ming Pai was the one who introduced us to the Kung Fu.
Okay.
So we were the only people going into Chinatown studying Tai Chi at the Tai Chi Society.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you started the Tai Chi first before the Kung Fu?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Which Tai Chi did you train in?
Yang style. We also learned the Wing Chun. Nobody knew what Wing Chun was.
Right, yeah. Wing Chun became popular later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Became popular later on. But I already learned, the Wing Chun.
Right.
That's my problem.
You answer?
Nah.
Okay. So, karate, Wing Chun, the Tai Chi. Which Tai Chi were you practicing?
We were practicing Chen Men Chin's Tai Chi.
Oh,
He was
okay.
the one that was teaching at the Tai Chi Society at the time.
Oh, Chen Manching?
Yeah, Chen Men Chin.
Really?
Yeah.
You trained under Chen Manching?
Yeah,
What was that experience like?
that was great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you drank from the well of Tai Chi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I never met anybody that actually trained with Chen Manching.
Yeah, I trained with him, and there's a bunch of us that trained with him because he was at the Tai Chi Society. Walter trained with him too, also.
What was he like?
Uh, he was an interesting guy.
Yeah?
yeah. He was a nice guy.
Right.
He was really a nice guy. Yeah. Everybody used to bring him wine.
He likes some wine.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We don't have about three, right? Okay. Yeah. So how long you trained in the Tai Chi?
Since I was 15. Yeah.
So you did the Tai Chi and the Wing Chun together, or?
Yeah, we did the Tai Chi, the Wing Chun. We also learned Hung Style. We learned Choi Yu Fat.
Really?
Yeah.
So and all at the Tai Chi at the.
No, this was all at the Ming Pai School.
At Ming Pai. Oh, okay. You trained under Ming Pai also.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Long time.
Man, you have a rich history of martial arts there. You train with some of the big guys in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So of all the styles you train in, which one do you connect with most?
I just like martial arts.
Yeah.
Period.
So,
You know?
yeah.
That's I can well, people don't understand, when you learn a martial art, they say boxing is not a martial arts.
Right.
And I keep telling people martial arts is, boxing is a martial art.
Right. Yeah.
It's pugilism.
Yeah.
And what is martial arts? Pugilism.
Right.
So what does that make boxing? A
Right.
martial art.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's, where do you learn boxing? You either learn Army, Navy, Marines,
Yeah.
Air
Everybody
Force.
teaches boxing.
Exactly.
You know?
So what does that make it?
Right.
Martial art.
Yeah, in its basics, its infancy, boxing is one of the most straightforward forms of self-defense,
Yes,
right?
it is. That's
And
right.
then it becomes a little more technical when
Yeah.
you get into pro and semi-pro
Yeah.
and the big guys.
Yeah.
They know how to do something different with
Right.
the skill.
And if you learn martial arts correctly,
Yeah.
you'll find that some of the same tactics
Right.
are in the kung fu.
Yeah.
They're in the karate. Yeah.
Right.
But that's if you learn the karate jutsu, which is for fighting, and not the karate, what they call budo,
Right.
which is for sport, which is two different things.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of people don't. They can't differentiate between the two.
Between the two.
So
Okay.
if you learn karate jutsu, then you're a fighter.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a whole nother story. That's a horse of another color.
Right.
You bump into that guy in a dark alley and he's walking out and you're not.
As opposed to the
Yeah.
competition,
Competition, sports stuff,
Yeah.
you get yourself killed.
Right. Well, if you look up the word karate or martial arts on the dictionary, it's always referred to as a sport.
Yeah,
There's
it's
something
always
related
Yeah.
to it being
Yeah.
a sport.
And that's because, what happened here in the United States with it. That's why.
Yeah.
So they made it, they made it eventually a sport.
Right.
And with the other thing, babysitting service. People
Right.
come and leave their kids.
Yeah. It's
So
not
it
the
deteriorated.
true. Yeah, it's deteriorated for a lot of ways. So altogether, how many years have you been training martial arts?
Wow, over 50.
Over 50 years.
Yeah, over 50 years.
Right. So one of the things with Kindred Fist is talking about the philosophy of the martial arts. Because today a lot of people are more interested just in the physicality of it.
Yeah.
Not the deep essence, not the philosophy, the growth, the personal self-growth, where you need the connection between the mind
The
and
mind,
the
the
body.
body, and the spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
So, in all the styles that you train in, how does the philosophy differ between them?
The philosophy doesn't differ much.
Right.
It's
So what?
basically it's all the same.
Right.
No matter what style you study.
Okay.
The moral compass of the martial arts is one that it's not about destroying or killing, but
Right.
it's about your health,
Right.
and your well-being of making life better for
Right.
yourself,
Right. Yeah.
and making life better for others,
Right.
helping others,
Right.
being humble, because the more advanced you get in the martial arts, the only way you're going to get advanced is by being humble.
Right.
If you're not a humble person, you're not going to learn some of the stuff that they have to teach.
Right.
Because people only have the tip of the iceberg, and then under this, so much more.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not just training, kicking and punching, and learning how to make your hands and your feet into a weapon. But the weapon is within you.
Right.
You are the weapon.
Right.
You are the warrior within.
Right.
So, people don't understand that, learning the martial arts is learning how to master oneself.
Right.
Not mastering others, not beating up other people.
Right.
The guy you're competing against is you.
Right.
The guy you're fighting is you.
Right.
Nobody else.
Some people think that martial art in itself is just violence. Or it's just like, people fighting each other and a way for somebody to get out their aggression and things like that.
Yeah, that's the misunderstanding of the martial arts.
Right.
Whereas martial arts, if you really learned under a good teacher, you learn to discipline yourself.
Right.
Because the enemy that you're fighting is the enemy within.
Right. Hold on one second. Talking about personal growth and martial art in relation to violence, some people think it's just a violence or a way for people to express their violent nature.
No, you could change a person's way of being by learning martial arts.
Right.
But them learning is seeing, the self-discipline and what it takes to learn this stuff. It actually helps in the development of one's mind.
Right.
A lot of people. I've trained a lot of people. They come in. They want to be a world champion. They want to beat up this. They want to beat up. By the time they get through, with about a year of training or whatnot, their whole attitude changes.
Yeah.
Because you just don't kick and punch.
Right.
You meditate before. At least we used to do. We used to meditate before we used to, start our practice.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of our practice, we used to meditate also.
Mm-hmm.
So you got meditation before and you got meditation after.
Right.
Which is very, very important. Because you're not just training the body, you're training the mind.
Right.
Right. The mind is the ultimate weapon.
Right.
Not the body. The body follows what the mind tells it.
Right.
Like in Sun Tzu's, it tells you the art of war.
Right.
To defeat the enemy, you defeat him without having to go to that point of violence.
Right.
Right. You defeat him without how would I say with your mind.
Well, you outthink the man.
Yeah, you outthink.
Yeah, without getting to that violent part.
Yeah, the epitome of war to seduce the enemy without
Right.
having a confrontation.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've trained, you've studied, you've understood, and you've done a lot of competing.
Yeah, I did a lot of competing when I was younger.
Okay.
Yeah, I was East Coast champion.
East Coast champion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did
karate or?
Yeah, karate. I did breaking, I did forms,
Right.
I did fighting,
Yeah.
self-defense, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it.
Right.
Yeah.
How has the competition game changed from when you were competing to what you're seeing today?
Totally different.
How so?
Totally different. That time, if you wanted to compete, you had to be in top physical condition.
Right.
If you weren't in top physical conditions, first front kick they gave you, that was the end of the fight.
Right.
Yeah. So it just, you had to be conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was no gloves.
Right.
There was no paddings or nothing. You punched, you kicked,
Right.
and you got punched and you got kicked.
Right.
So it was in competition then. It was not like it is now. Now they got this point system and whatnot.
Right.
It wasn't points back then.
Really?
Back then it was you knock the guy out, he knock you out.
Right. So you were competing before the padding system came.
Oh yeah, before all that came,
Right.
we were competing.
Right.
We were definitely competing. So that's why a lot of guys that went into like kickboxing, or as they say, professional karate,
Right.
because of that era.
Right.
because they were fighters.
Right.
They were fighters. They weren't,
Right.
you know, it wasn't, you know, tag and you're in,
yeah,
no. Boom! Good night.
Right.
I mean, you know, I used to go to tournaments and I'd see guys being carried out to the ambulance, you know,
Right.
stretchers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now it's a little more controlled, I should say.
Now it's not so much control,
Yeah.
but I mean, what it's deteriorated to is like, you know, like you got different fractions, you know,
Yeah.
and they're like, you know, wow, where's the, you know, the respect and all the other stuff, you know, of the karate, you know,
Right.
it's like going downhill,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
I stayed away from it. I still practiced, but I stayed away from the, you know, the tournament scene once I got out of it.
Mhm.
You know, I said, you know, I'm going to practice for me,
Right.
not for, you know,
Right.
getting any recognition or, as you know, people would call it Hollywood.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things too, is that people might not understand that martial art eventually becomes a very lonely journey,
Sure does.
right?
Yep.
You end up by yourself,
That's
training
right.
in a quiet place, trying to understand the connection between you and your heart,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
So yeah, all the glitter and the glamour and things like that, it's meaningless.
Yeah, it's all meaningless. It's all meaningless. It becomes, you know, one's personal journey
Right.
on the road, you know, to finding out about oneself. You know, what you can accomplish, what you can't accomplish.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So, I do Chinese Kung Fu, and when we do breaking techniques, we actually take a brick and just put it on the floor and break it.
Right. There's
There's
bridge.
nothing supporting it or anything.
Right.
You know, so people can't understand that kind of breaking.
Okay.
You know, then there's, you know, where you break a board or something and you're this far away from it.
Right.
You know, so that's energy.
Right.
That's force. You know.
So we're talking
That's
about
power.
internal energy as
Yeah.
opposed to the physical,
Yeah.
trying to overpower them.
That's right.
Okay.
With that internal energy, it's a force to be reckoned with.
So the yin,
Yes.
the qi. So tell me about the difference between qi and yin.
Well, you know, it all works together. It doesn't work separately. A lot of people think it works separately. So you got the jin, you got the qi, you got the shen, you got, you know, you got the physical, you know, then as they call it, you know, all of this works in unison.
Right.
You know, you unite it all together as one.
Right.
And then when you strike, this whole, this in Chinese they say, you know, you become the fist.
Right.
You become the fist. Not, you know, you got the fist, yeah, but you become the fist.
Mhm.
Now it's when you're attacked, it's not you using just your arms, you know, or your hands.
Right.
You're using your whole body.
Your entire being.
You know, entire being. You know,
Right.
it's not just, you know, I'm gonna, you know, block with this. No. When you block, your whole body blocks.
Right.
When you punch, your whole body punch. You know,
Mhm.
when you deflect, you know, the whole body deflects
Right.
and moves out of the way.
Right.
So you use the force against the person that's coming at you.
So you compete with the Tai Chi also? Or you just did the
Nah,
Tai Chi
nah.
for
I
yourself?
just do the Tai Chi for myself. My teacher was Master Joe Songhua. He wrote 3 books on Tai Chi, you know, one on Tai Chi, one on the I Ching, and one on meditation. He also studied with Chen Menchen. He studied with a few other teachers.
Okay.
So when we started studying with him, he taught us the Chen first.
Right.
So we started spreading the Chen through Master Joe. You know, and doing the food also, you know, because we did the Fu Jiao Bai, you know, Wei Hung.
Right.
So, you know, we were doing the Fu Jiao and the Chen style, the Yang style.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. So forms and from the Chinese Kung Fu, katas from the karate style.
Yeah.
What's the philosophy between the two? The difference.
Well, you know, if you learn the forms correctly, with the right philosophy, you find out those forms can be very spiritual.
Right.
You know, they can, you know, develop your spirit, your shen,
Yeah.
especially with the Chinese.
Right.
You know, because, you know, it's not just doing it physically.
Mhm.
You know, there's more to doing the form than just doing a move here, a move there.
Right.
You know, because to connect the forms, and to make them flow,
Right.
that's the other thing.
Right.
Make it look, like a dance.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just physical.
Right.
It's also spiritual.
Spiritual.
You know, the Master Joe always used to say the Shen. Use the Shen. Always the spirit.
Right.
You know, so you're strengthening the spirit.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
you're developing the Shen.
Right.
You're developing the spirit. So if you hit somebody, you're not just hitting them physically. You're hitting them spiritually too. And people don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, I once punched a guy and he looked at me and said, "Oh hell no, I'm not fighting with you."
Right. So, okay, you competed in the old ways where it was just fists. I hear people saying today that forms, because of the big thing with mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu and things like that, a lot of people think, or they say that forms are useless.
Forms are useless. They don't understand what the form is. Form is like a book.
Right.
Form is a book.
Say that again.
Form is a book. You
like
change the form, you change the book.
Right.
Because the knowledge is in there.
Yes.
Because you got to break down the form. And then when you're breaking down the form, doing the individual techniques, you find one technique, right? And you do it this one way.
Mm-hmm.
But then from that one way, you can do that same technique 10 more different ways.
Right.
And from 10, you can do 50. From 50, you can do 100.
Right.
So now the whole thing, this one technique becomes all these other techniques.
Right.
See, because people don't try to understand what the form is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's in the philosophy. You learn the form, you become the form, then you discard the form.
Mm-hmm.
But they learned the form, but they didn't get to really find out what the form was about. So then they can disregard the form.
Right. Yeah.
So now the form becomes formless.
Right.